So the screen flickers on this, as Jonathan showed me earlier. Laptops as a rule aren't the easiest thing to repair, but obviously they come with the advantage of being compact and portable. The probable fault is that down here, or possibly on the other side, that obviously looks the same but mirrored. I mean, you can just sort of see it in there, but there's a cable in there. So it could be that the cable's damaged, or well, if the cable's damaged, then you're probably out of luck. But if it's, say, one of the connections in each end that may have started to pull loose, then there's probably a chance of repairing it. So first thing is try and sort of get this front piece off, which allows you to then sort of get into the electronics. These aren't screwed together because they're made to be quite compact, so there's nothing really to screw into, although they manage 2 screws at the bottom. So you have these rather delicate clips which have the habit of breaking. Easiest thing is to try and find somewhere where there's already a little bit of a lead in, which I did find above the camera here, probably because there's actually a little bit sort of that pokes up that gave me an entry. So I've been able to get in there and only make that sort of small scuff, which is pretty good for my standards of having to take screwdrivers to things like this, because it's not easy. And it's one of the reasons why last time when I broke my screen, I just took it to somebody. So,
oh, you didn't tell me that earlier. So
I did, yeah. Well, it was a brand new laptop, and
it was, yeah. That's a £1,000 laptop you've just broken there.
Yeah. this one was, yes, I broke the screen on it. I thought, well, I'd rather just pay someone with whatever he's going to charge to sort of do it. But you can actually get the screens. So if you want to, if you need to do a screen replacement, and I suppose if that comes with a cable, that could be potentially how you could fix this. But they're less expensive than you think. Well, I'm talking a few years ago and sort of pre everything shooting up in price like it has because of Brexit, etc. Sort of 50, 60 quid, which when you think of the cost of a laptop, it could be sort of 500 or more. That's quite a cheap replacement. I mean, you think my computer monitors cost £200, £300, £400, so that's quite cheap for and all you get just the sort of the panel without everything else around it that you can put in, because they're a standard size and presumably then perhaps a standard interface. So there are a couple of screws in this which are in the bottom here. So I've taken one out. I've left the other one so you can sort of see how of course it's moved. How sort of deceptive it can be, so whether or not there's actually a screw there. So there is a screw under there, and once that's out, you're basically left with something like that. It's just a little bit of plastic with a self-adhesive back that's been put over the screw. So you might be able to pop it back on afterwards, but it's probably always going to show that you've taken it off. But that's just the price you have to pay for being able to get your equipment apart. So, and that just leaves us a couple of screws to take out.
One I prepared earlier.
Always there's something handy to put screws in, and don't do what I just did and knock it on the floor. So it might go back together, Jonathan.
Or it might not.
Find the other screws.
I love the confidence side of it.
Well, there's somewhere down here. There's somewhere down here.
At least you didn't drop them all like I did with pins earlier at the Victoria Centre.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've done. I've somehow it's got knocked off the table, and the screws that are in it are, well, I've recovered one.
Brilliant.
So that's sort of kind of one of your first lessons is have a tray or a tub or something, but put it well out of the way, because it's easy to knock things. So I'll have to continue taking this off now, and the key with getting these out without breaking them is to not sort of pull them for too far. It's to just gradually go along a bit at a time, so that you're not sort of yanking from afar at the wrong angle, and just sort of try and lift it sort of gently from quite close to where the next section is. That's where it suddenly gets a bit harder.
I can lift you up. Yes.
Hold on, Billy's going to bed. Does everybody want to say good night to Billy?
Night, Billy.
Good night, Billy.
Good night, everyone.
Alright, Daddy.
Hold on, I'm mute.
You winning, Simon?
Are
you winning?
Well, I hope so. It's
Oh,
so there's a piece of hinge now. So the front of the hinge is actually part of the front bit. So that has made it a bit more interesting to try and separate.
whilst you're doing that, Simon, they ought to make things that should be repairable, and if they're not repairable, we shouldn't be buying them.
Yes, I mean, it should be a trade-off between how long is it going to last? How long is it made? It should be made to last a long time. If it has to be made in such a way that it's not going to be easy to repair, and I mean, at the end of the day, laptops, are a huge compromise. I mean, my main computer is a big PC because I can take it to pieces, upgrade it, replace parts.
Absolutely.
Without having to replace the whole thing. But obviously it's not the most portable thing on earth. So portable things are by their nature going to be sort of built with some sort of compromise and be a bit more difficult to repair if at all. But you'd hope that they're built to be, quite rugged so that they don't need repairing.
There was a movement some time ago about making mobile phones so you could click in different components as you upgraded.
You mean
So
the Flare phone?
Yeah, you take one bit out and throw it away and get another one and
Yes,
upgrade.
I had the misfortune of having one of those.
Were they any good?
2 screens and a camera module. I think the problem was that the company had never designed one before. It was the first one they designed. I don't know what they got wrong, but there were issues, and I did end up sort of returning mine. And what my sort of retort was, the fair phone, it's fair to everybody, but the poor bastard that buys it, because
Fair comment. Yeah, no.
for all the repairability, I think they insisted that I return it to them, and it's like, I'm sorry, you sold this to me on the ticket that I could buy a spare part and replace it. You've agreed there's a fault, so send me the damn part and let me fit it. But oh no, they had to have it back. So it kind of defeated its own object in the end. I mean, I don't know where they're at now, and if they sorted sort of the issues out. I don't know what the issues. I mean, screen's a screen, and I don't think the issues were due to the replaceability of it. I think it was just the fact that they've not managed to sort of design it properly, perhaps, as it was their first time. But yeah, that would have been nice. I did sort of fully buy into that idea and buy one, but unfortunately it's but on the other hand, I didn't cheap out. I mean, I didn't buy the most expensive phone on earth, but I didn't cheap out when I bought my phone that I have now. And I expect it to last, and I don't expect it to be a games console and all sorts of other wonderful things. I expect it to be a phone. So for as long as it works as a phone, you know, I'll be keeping it. I won't be changing it because, oh, the latest model's just come out.
Absolutely. And
and
that's the way people should be working, I think.
well, it's unfortunately, it's not, I mean, it's not just the sort of technical lacking of how things are made, because most things will last a lot longer than people usually keep them. The big problem is basically we are constantly marketed to convince us to buy new products. Things made today, but you know, by their very nature, will tend to last a reasonable amount of time anyway, even if you don't take too much care over how you make them. So, you know, it's, I mean, there was the big argument about Apple and their sort of so-called sort of battery lifetime enhancing functionality, which actually slowed the phone down. I mean, the reasons they gave were plausible, but you kind of wonder, well, did they go to the extent to make the phone useless on purpose? And I mean, my first mobile phone was a second-hand one.
Yeah.
I was perfectly happy with it until all of a sudden it just suddenly got really, really slow. That was a HTC years ago. You know, someone had just got out their contracts and bought the phone outright, sold it on eBay to me, and got themselves a new phone. So I thought, well, you know, my first smartphone, I'll happily go with a second-hand one, see how I go. And I was quite happy with that till it suddenly slowed down for some reason.
Because they do possibly have built-in obsolescence, which comes in, as you were saying, about your 3,000 hours on a radiator. You know,
well, that's on the whole car, and again, that's down to,
yeah. But what they could do is, on a laptop, they could build in a device that makes it go pear-shaped after a certain amount of time.
yeah.
Why would they do that?
Well, it's they just tend to do it via marketing instead, because I mean, you know, people are always keen to dash out and sort of buy another one, whereas, you know, I'll keep stuff for as long as it lasts. I mean, I've over the last 10 years, I've only sort of bought 3 laptops new, and one I've still got. One's passed to my dad, which is sort of far better than any laptop or PC he's ever owned. And the first one I sold on. So, you know, they're all well, apart from the first one, you know, at least 2 out of the 3 are still going. But I bought machines so that they would last. And of course, the problem these days is that they sell things quite cheap because they expect you to go out and buy another one. So they don't sort of perform. They're not always good performance. But, and I mean, on the other hand, it's also an issue, you know, it is also a problem with the consumer. I'm just trying to get the bottom off, hoping I can sort of clear up why the hinges are stuck.
Well, I think that's it. It's
people.
Go on.
The problem is also, you know, people, they want everything for cheap. And, you know, you can't have things for cheap. I mean, my father has 2 identical laptops that are useless. I mean, they're not identical to look at, but performance-wise, they're the same, because he didn't want to sort of spend the extra at the start, and he ended up with a machine that wasn't terrific. And then my brother-in-law sorted him out another one, but I suspect, again, he didn't want to spend too much. And he ended up with another machine that wasn't very useful until I came along and said, look, here's my old laptop. Have it for sort of just under what you want, what your other ones cost you, and far less than this cost me. You know, that'll last him now for years.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, I mean, I don't buy the absolute latest when I get stuff, but I do try to get something that is as much as, you know, as good as I can get for the money I can spend, with a view to keeping it for a long time, rather than going a year later, oh, well, that's out of date now, I'll get another one. And of course, people tend to like getting new things. So it's not just the manufacturers. It's this culture of you know, consumerism, and of course.
Well, that's the culture we've got to change, isn't it? It's that mentality.
Well, people buying sort of too quickly to the latest thing must be, you know, got to have the latest thing, and it's like, well, you know, yes and no. He goes, do you actually need it? Probably not. Which is what happens quite a lot.
I think sometimes, though, to butt in, is that you do need the latest thing. I had the thing with a phone that works okay, but I couldn't get any apps for it because it was the wrong Android.
Yeah.
So I think it was an Android 7, and you needed to have 8 and above to get like, all the latest apps, to have security features. So I couldn't do my banking on there. I couldn't take card payments on there, which was 2 things at that precise moment just before lockdown I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I bought myself a cheap Nokia phone and it was absolutely rubbish. So I've ended up buying yet another phone that actually works. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I've got 2 fairly relatively new phones. One decides to do what it likes when it likes, and the other one is almost too good to sort of take anywhere. Do you know what I mean? So
how's Judith doing? Oh, there's a back off a computer.
Yeah.
So the back's off.
you have somebody called Judith on here.
Yeah, she's sitting there down there.
All I can see a blue square with a open support chat.
Oh, right. What's your problem, Judith?
I'm I'm just trying to get. I'm actually now got on to the meeting. It's
Right,
took me
well done.
longer.
So can you
You've got to turn the video on.
You need to turn the video on and turn your microphone on.
My
Well, she's got a
microphone-
microphone on.
Oh, right. Okay.
microphone's on, but hang on it.
There's a picture of a camera.
Okay.
On the bottom left-hand screen, bottom left of the screen.
Start video.
Yeah, that's it.
A bit of one.
Yay!
Come here.
Now, where's Ian?
Come here.
He's here.
Got his coffee.
Nice to see you, Judith.
Andrew, Marion.
Brilliant.
Thank you for the cake.
Every day's a learning day.
Well, we got here eventually.
Well, that's fine. You got here.
And it's good that you've done it because I've just been trying to do it on the computer. It's the first time you've done this on the computer, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's brilliant. So you can do this now. So there's loads of things you can join in now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well done.
I'll
So-
get it on Ian's computer later.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, everybody. I didn't really hear what was going on because we were trying to sort out getting Judith on here. So
That's all right. We've just been moaning about manufacturers and cheapskate consumers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what you can see, Ian and Judith, Simon is repairing a laptop.
Oh, right.
Well, I'm trying.
Look at He's Simon.
It's Simon on the left screen there.
Up here.
Yes, I can see him. He's at the top
Yeah,
there.
that's Simon. Look.
Hello.
Oh, so I've got the camera mostly pointed down here at the thing I'm trying to repair. Trying being the operative word.
What's the matter with it?
The screen flickers. So it could be that some of the wiring's broken or that it's not plugged in properly anymore. If it's not plugged in, then you can just sort of push the plug back in and hope that it'll work, and that's it. If the wire's broke, I'm not really too sure what you can actually do about it, because the thing with laptops, everything's so tiny. I don't think I have any bits around. I mean, for example, these things here, that's only the sort of from there, obviously it's a bit standing, I can see it. So that's about half the size of what you would get in a main PC, and everything's a lot together because it's a laptop, so everything's made a lot more compact. So they're a bit more
What's
difficult
that?
to work on.
What's that copper-looking cable, Simon?
Well, here.
Yeah, it's like a.
So on the here is the processor, which is sort of what does most of your thinking. This is the heat pipe. So I think it's actually got gas inside it. So it works a little bit like your fridge would. And I think there's a pipe in a pipe, if I'm not mistaken. So the gas sort of heats up and goes up to here, which is the heat sink, So it sort of spreads the heat out into all these tiny fins, and you've got the fan here that blows the air through to cool it, and then the gas returns back to the processor. Because obviously being a laptop, that's where you can get access to fresh air, but your processor has to be over here. So, sort of talking things built down to a price, there's one memory module here. There isn't one here. So you've actually paid for a processor that can manage 2 memory modules. And now the performance has been cut in half because they've only fitted one because it's cheaper. That's something that drives me up the wall when I try to buy laptops. I'm always quite meticulous in finding one that actually states it has both sort of memory slots populated, because the processor will access both memory modules at the same time. So you get twice the speed you will get from one because it's working on both. But you can optionally fit just one, or rather nowadays that's become the norm, but it means that you've sort of cut your performance in half.
So Simon, because I missed what were you doing?
Yeah.
When you opened up the back then, have you been telling everybody what all these different bits are then?
No.
That would be good.
We've only just started.
Tell us what all the bits are then.
Yeah, we've only just kind of started on that, so you haven't really missed anything.
Okay.
There's this is the CD drive, or DVD drive, whatever it is. These are actually replaceable generally. I've got one knocking around somewhere, but I don't know where I put it. But they're a separate module. You've also got your hard disk here, which is sort of where everything's stored. And this one's also removable. So if you ever wanted to upgrade the size of it or change it for a faster one, so I like to use solid state drives quite a lot because they're very fast, and they're ideal in laptops because this is a mechanical hard disk. It's actually got as the name suggests, it's got a disc inside it. It's like a miniature record player deck inside. So you have a disc and you have an arm which actually pivots there, so it sort of moves up and down across the disc. But they're quite susceptible to being damaged if they're hit. So they're not actually the greatest idea on a laptop. So I tend to use the solid state ones because this doesn't actually have any mechanical parts in it. It's just got chips like what are here. So they can't be damaged, and they're fast. So your laptop will last that bit longer because you won't be sort of begrudging the speed of your hard drive so quickly, because the solid state drives are much faster.
Particularly when you fix it with the hammer.
To replace.
Yeah.
Are they easy to replace?
Yes. So theoretically, you could take the hard drive out. You would have to use the correct software to make a mirror copy onto a solid state drive, and then you put the solid state drive in.
Okay.
So you can sort of do your own upgrade that way. And again, you can fit another module there to double the memory speed, so that would increase the performance of it, which might sort of give a bit more life to something that you were starting to think was a bit too slow. So there are a few things you can do to laptops, but not a lot.
So the solid state drive, is that when you're buying a computer, it says, is it SSD?
Yes, that's what SSD stands for, yes.
And there's obviously if you want something faster.
Yeah.
So what if you were buying a laptop, what sort of things would you be looking to have good capacity? So obviously you want to have good speed, don't you, to run the thing?
Yes.
But also you want to have a good memory capacity. And what's the bottom line if you were upgrading that laptop?
If I was upgrading this, I'd copy the hard drive to the solid state one and put the solid state one in, and I'd try and get another memory module. And obviously, if it's a slightly older laptop, you'll probably find a lot of memory modules on eBay, because obviously people are scrapping these. That's about the only thing, apart from the hard drive, you can take out. I mean, there are a few other things like this board over here, which might be useful for something.
I don't know what I've done.
Pardon?
It's all right. Were you asking a question, Judith?
No, just off the pictures.
Hey?
I've lost the picture.
Oh,
Oh, well, we can see
dear.
you.
Oh,
We can see you. It might be your signal. Yeah, up the top right hand corner, you've got a thing called view, a little thing called view, and you can see lots of different views.
yeah.
I'm back.
Back.
I'll keep my hand off the mouse.
Ah, well done.
You probably brought up another program by mistake. There is often a separate Wi-Fi module, which I suspect is possibly, can't really see it, and I don't want to pull this cable out, possibly under there. But obviously, because it's all on one board, there's not a lot to change. But the memory and the hard drive are really the things. Obviously, if if you had a DVD drive and you wanted a Blu-ray drive, you might be able to find one. I mean, you have to be a little bit careful, but it is one that fits. I don't know if they're standardized. But yeah, I mean, buying a laptop, I would generally always make sure it has a solid state hard drive. Because if anything, they're more durable. I mean, I've broken a hard drive in a laptop before. It got knocked and the hard drive was broken. And obviously a lot of people, they'll just chuck the laptop away at that point. So if you start out with a solid state hard drive, you can't really break it. So that might, help the laptop to last longer, because you won't have to worry about changing a hard drive if it ever gets broken. Plus, of course, you'll lose everything on the hard drive if you do that. In fact, I think it was only a couple of months ago or less, I knocked over a portable hard drive that had one of these little mechanical hard disks in it. It's knackered, and I've lost everything on it. Luckily enough, it wasn't anything important, but yeah, so.
Yeah.
Well, they are more expensive, solid state. But the other thing to think about is how much space do you actually need? A lot of things these days are online. So, and you can get external hard drives. So, do you really need a high capacity hard drive? I don't tend to fit the biggest anymore in computers, because I just use other hard drives to store data. So
Yeah,
it's a cheaper solution to have a smaller but faster hard drive that's going to sort of cost more per size, but because it's smaller, it's not too expensive, and then just have another drive, which hopefully you're not going to chuck around, but you can plug in to store stuff on. Right.
go on, Simon, fix it. You know you can.
Well, I'm going to work out how to get the rest of the front off.
I thought you'd done that bit.
Well, I got flummoxed down the bottom here because it's it feels like it's tied in. I don't want to. This is why I took my laptop to somebody to change the screen. Oops. Yep, and your bit's come unstuck now.
Whose laptop is it?
Jonathan's.
All right. Did you want it back, Jonathan?
Yeah, preferably in one piece rather than 5 or 6. But
That's not what you said earlier.
After repair,
whoops, daisy.
I mean, it could be that this broken corner is what sort of started the problem with the screen. If it sort of pulled the cable.
almost certainly, Simon. Yeah, definitely.
that looks like it.
Yeah. So your cable comes in from the screen through there, and in fact, that white bit is where the outer sheath has been torn. So yeah, I would guess that it's actually a damaged cable, which isn't really something you could repair. You'd need to get a replacement cable if you can get them. So that goes through the hinge into the screen. It comes through and comes around to this connector here. Believe it or not, that's a connector.
Yeah. So once you've identified the bit that's broken, can you get the replacement parts?
I don't know. I've never tried to replace one of these before. They're not
So
usually designed to be easily replaceable. I mean, if a guy can change my screen for me, as I have had done in the past,
Yeah.
I would assume that at least a connection at this end or at the screen end must be sort of removable. I mean, this is some sort of connector, because otherwise the wire would go straight into the board, which it doesn't. It does go to a connector. It's just how sort of fragile that is.
see, these things are built by thousands of workers in China who put hundreds of them together in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
And they'll just pick a part out of a bin, slap it on, and pass it on to the next person to slap the next part on.
But they're built in a sequence, though, aren't they? That's the problem.
Absolutely.
This might not have been put on last, if you like. This might have been put on towards the beginning.
Absolutely. It's understanding where you are in that sequence.
Yeah, I would have thought that this fan sort of module went on afterwards, because if that wire plugs in sort of that way, then the fan's in the way to take it out. If the fan went in late after, then this whole heat pipe on this part that's screwed down over the processor would have been put in afterwards. I mean, this would have all been one unit. So the fan and this copper pipe on this sort of block here is all one piece. So you'd undo both screws and undo the fan screws and take the whole thing off, which is probably the only way of accessing that.
Exactly. So it's understanding how to build it backwards.
Yeah. We can see if we can get into the other side of it.
Say goodbye to your laptop, Jonathan.
I did that a while ago, Rob.
Yeah.
I did warn him.
No, it's a fascinating process.
The broken bit might actually help us to understand how it comes apart.
Exactly that.
So that does unhook. I think it's a case of getting it completely open, because this is sort of come off now, and you can sort of see that it. So if it's up, it hinges under. It hooks underneath. So, yeah, that's it. That'll come out, I think. That's it. Right.
Don't be expecting that back anytime soon.
There you go.
Properly doomed now, Jonathan.
Thanks, mate.
Getting worried.
That's the point of no return.
No.
Mary, you did say, Marion, this was sponsored by the Victoria Centre, didn't you?
Not financially, though.
Now he's trying to get a free.
But everybody brings their repair at their own risk. I think.
Oh dear, somebody read the rules.
Right.
Something that's handy to have around is you can get these now, which are they blow air to dust stuff out.
Okay.
Get one from my ears, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that though. It could blow right through.
Oh yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
They're I mean, they're not like compressed air, but they're they're pretty powerful, and they're quite good for dusting things out.
Oh, that's good. Use it on my chairs.
Fun?
When I do some woodworking, sometimes you want to get the dust away from things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're handy because they produce a good bit of pressure, because they've got this little fan in here that goes round at about, I think it says on the back actually. No, it does. I think it does something like 30,000 RPM. So they do a good bit of pressure. They're not high volume, but they're good for.
What are they called? What's it called, Simon?
Air duster.
Air duster.
I mean, this one was 60 odd quid, but it's sort of a decent one. Then there's one of these things that sort of recently, come out, but someone's thought of one, and everybody's gone, oh yeah, that's just what I could have done with, and you know, so they've started buying them and they've become popular. So everybody's making them now. I mean, they kind of have. I mean, I had a work colleague once. He actually bought a can of compressed air to clean out his PlayStation, and I think in the end he brought it around to me, and I just sort of got my little portable car compressor out. Sort of managed to do it with that, but this would have been ideal for something like that, to sort of blow the dust out of, because you collected dust in sort of inside where the heat is dumped. You know, like on this laptop, the equivalent of sort of this system was all clogged up with dust on his games console. So we wanted to clean it out. So they're handy for, you know, when you're sort of taking things apart that have fans in them, because if they have fans in them, they've drawn in all the dust when they've been working. And I mean, there's more dust in the room when you realize, you know, open any computer and you wouldn't, you know, suddenly you realize how dusty the air is, even though you can't sort of see it. So they're quite handy for if you're working on anything, opening anything up that's got a fan in it, because that's a good time to give it a good clean out. Or if you've got anything, you know, needs cleaning, they're quite handy because they're portable.
All right, Simon, you've got a lot of editing to do. You've got to edit all these broken.
I know.
By the way, Simon's going to edit this video that he's taking now so we can put it on YouTube.
Okay.
We're all being recorded, Judith.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you weren't warned about that, were you? But everybody else was.
No, I wasn't.
Right, I can edit you out.
Ian was warned, but I wasn't.
With Zoom, you can record a meeting. You don't have to, and we don't always. But
No.
you know, but something like this, because part of this is kind of share learning with other people that couldn't come along tonight. So
Yeah.
I think there should be something flashing on your screen to say it's recording.
yeah, on the left hand side, there's a little light saying recording.
Well, obviously, you know, not everybody may know what it is.
Oh yeah, it's up there.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
Little red dot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, red dot being sort of a standard symbol for recording back to the sort of tape days.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well.
Oh, that's going back.
I do remember tapes.
Oh, don't.
Although I only ever got around to owning 2 or 3, I think.
So that cable there, is that the one? Is that related to the screen? The one that you think that might be broken?
Yes, this is the this is the video cable, which unfortunately disappears under the screen there. It's probably hardwired into the screen, I would have thought. So I suspect that when you say buy a new screen, I mean, we can pop this off and have a look because it's only got 4 screws. If you were to buy another screen, which might be the lesser of the 2 evils, depending on if the laptop's worth keeping, it will come with the cable, which you could then rerun all the way through.
The bits are falling out, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes, well, this was a broken laptop, although that hasn't, I think.
It certainly wasn't, Simon. It was perfect when I gave it to you.
I think it owes you compensation.
Oh, don't worry, the Victoria Centre's paid.
Yeah, all
Yeah, right.
that glue was just there from manufacture.
That was art, Simon, art.
You paid a premium, did you, for a piece of artwork?
Yeah, going from Monty back for next week.
So
Tonight.
It just takes some time.
But you could go online and buy another one of those computers, couldn't you? Or those laptops, which hadn't got that broken part. You could cannibalize the
There
two.
you go. See, that's how easy it is to replace the CD, the DVD player, whatever it is. It's yeah.
It falls out.
Yeah.
You've broken that already. That works, Simon.
It's held in by the screws that hold the back on, you see. So one of the screws back would have actually gone through there.
Yeah.
Are you going to open up the screen?
Go
Yeah.
on, Simon.
Might as well go mad, eh? We can see what all the gubbins look like.
Okay, let's go for it, Simon. It's foobarred now.
Well, as I
Do
was,
you understand the term FUBAR?
yes, I have heard of it. I don't know if its origin, if it's, you know, if it's,
It's what is it when they just do the letters? An acronym?
Yeah.
right.
That's it. Something beyond redemption.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. Got it.
Thanks for that, Rob. Yeah, you're filling me with confidence here, mate.
I would say that's FUBAR,
Who
Jonathan.
invited him anyway? That's what I want to know.
You.
I was already beyond repair.
Perfect laptop. Welcome to the. Is this called Destruction Club or Repair Club?
Yeah.
No, the whole process is absolutely fascinating if you think about it. It's you know, it's leading you into what the potential, what it is you can do.
The politer version.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, look.
BER, beyond economical repair.
All right, so that's what it all looks like then.
But it's what you consider to be economical repair.
Yeah, usually price of a new one. So this is the sort of screen panel, which ultimately, you know, if it was say a broken screen, you know, it's not too difficult to actually take these out and replace them. And it does look like this actually is a connector, but again, it's one of these itsy bitsy, good luck, tiny things.
Big pair of pliers.
Microphone.
Right.
No, but what you've done is you've revealed what the component is.
Yeah.
You know, and that component can be replaced.
Yeah.
You know, and that component would exist in another sacrificial laptop.
Yes, and I mean, I think potentially, I'm not 100% sure, but you might be able to replace them with one of a higher resolution potentially.
Yeah.
By way of an upgrade. I don't know what the resolution of this was. I don't know if Jonathan knows.
It was. I don't like this was.
Brilliant. Absolutely
It's
brilliant.
dead. It's dead.
It's not dead anymore.
It is no more.
That's
It has fallen off its perch.
Yes, it's a has been.
There's 4 of them.
Unbelievable.
No, I think that's absolutely brilliant, Simon. I think you've done brilliantly well there.
What, destroying it?
Did you give him a carrier bag to give you all the bits back in?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it didn't come with a special carry case where you can lay all the parts out in the corner.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
So we do have a charger for it. It's just well, I'm just wondering if I wiggle the cable around,
And it flickers.
We can't see that, Simon.
Just twist it around a bit. So is the screen working?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
well
it was before. It's just as you sort of tipped it, it would flicker on and off. Ah, there you go. See, so it's
literally just that cable.
Yep. And it is down here where you can see it's been a little bit stretched by the damage.
Yeah.
So it's your fault, Jonathan.
Right.
So are you saying a bit of gaffer tape will sort it out, or are you doing the hammer job? That was your 2 options earlier: gaffer tape or hammer.
So what you're saying is, if you could get that a new one of those cables,
Yes.
and super glue that hinge back together,
Yeah.
that would do it.
Yes.
Job done.
Yes.
Now you need to go. Now you know what the problem is, which is just that cable. It's not the screen. It's not the computer. It's just that little bit of cable. If you can get that cable, you can repair that computer with a bit of super glue. Job done.
Yeah.
Is there a way to bodge it so that it doesn't move? Obviously, if it's where that's sort of worn away a bit, like potentially like it's kind of, there's a connection loose there, isn't there?
Well, I think what's happened is the worn away bit is a sign of the wire sort of being stretched. So one of one of the wires inside would have broken. So it's sort of just sort of doing that, and now and again it gets pulled, because the I mean, you've got the outer sort of sheath here. I mean, this is actually a metal wrapping to stop.
Yeah, and that and the cables inside that, there's dozens of them, and they're
Yes.
microscopic.
Yes, so but there'll be lots of wires inside. So one of them would have had the sort of the outer sort of plastic bit stretched, and it's sort of stayed stretchy, and it's broken the wire inside that wouldn't stretch. So you've got sort of wire strands that are making and not making contact because of the stretching it's been given. Yeah, I'm not really sure how you can sort of bodge it into position because it's
Just the simple answer is you get a new one of those cables.
yes, if you can
Yeah,
get,
but then you got to try and fit it, Rob. That's the problem.
yes.
Well, what you need is somebody with the technical ability to be able to fit that cable.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's
gonna
what
do it.
Simon's here for.
Definitely not us.
Well, no, somebody's going to be able to do it. They may be in Korea.
In a new career.
Yeah, a new Korea. Anyway, people, I've got to go and get some supper.
Okay.
Lovely to see you.
Nice to meet you, Rob.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. See
See
you
you
again.
again soon, Rob.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon, Jonathan. I've got nearly 2,000 trees that need healing in.
Fantastic. Well, I'm still waiting the what is it? The invitation, mate. You know, I'll take a few, perhaps not quite as many as 10,000, though.
No, only 2,000. But I've got some. I'll sort some out for you, and we will talk soon.
What's
Awesome,
heaving
mate.
in?
All right. Look
What's
forward
heaving
to.
in, Rob?
Basically, putting in a trench and putting them in temporarily rather than planting them.
Oh, right.
So you just leave. They'll last 6 months in a trench, and then you take them out and replant them somewhere else.
You haven't got any fruit trees, have you?
How many what?
Fruit trees.
I might be getting some crab apples, but not fruit trees per se.
Okay.
But what we need to be doing, what I've been talking to people about doing, is grafting old fruit trees.
Oh, right.
So get a collection of apple trees, quince trees, medlar trees, and all these sort of things. So we do have a supply of different trees so that you can do it. I've got a friend up in Northumberland who's grafting climate resistant apple trees.
Oh, right.
He's got 9,000 in his garden, so I can probably find one or two.
Well, I was thinking of making some of the gardens at the front of the Victoria Centre into sort of an edible garden. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, they could. Yeah, it's finding the trees. Talk to me. I will talk to my friend Mark and see what he's doing because he runs a permaculture course.
Oh, right.
He's way up in Northumberland, but you can obviously, on situations like this, you can join that course, and he shows people how to graft apple trees onto scions onto stalks, so that you can start that process off, and then you can develop it over time.
Oh, wow.
There's all sorts of things we can do. We can repair the planet if we've got
we can.
time.
We can.
We just got to try. Nice to meet you, everybody.
Yeah, take care, Rob.
And you.
See you soon, Rob.
Jonathan, bye now.
Cheers.
Bye.
So having a look online, you can actually get cables.
You can.
Yep. Although the snag is the right one.
The other option you said earlier was to just plug it into a different screen. Is that still a possibility?
Yep, that's something we can try. So I have my third screen here, not attached to my computer, but with a dangly cable, which I can plug in, and we can see if the laptop will run it. So obviously on the side, you've got that's for your older style screens. The VGA connection, and then you have a HDMI. So I mean, HDMI is pretty current. So as a sort of not so portable but compact sort of almost PC. You know, there's nothing wrong with using this laptop. You could even just completely break the screen off.
Well, that was going to be almost a suggestion, was just to lose the screen if it's going to be safe to do so.
Then
we've just got a button
the keyboards without having this thing in the way. Obviously, it'd be nicer to sort of be able to keep the screen, which I will have a look into whether or not you can, if I can find the right cable, because it's obviously not going to work unless you can replace the cable.
No.
But so that's worth pursuing. Since it is just a cable, you can get them. So I just move that one out the way a little bit. And we start it up and we'll see what happens.
What screen are you actually looking at now, Simon? Is it a screen we can't see?
Not at the minute, no. I've turned my laptop on, although it's not date and time reset to default. Yeah, it's not. So I have this screen.
Oh, right.
There.
That big one.
Yeah, that big one. That's plugged into the laptop at the minute, but obviously no sign of life, although the laptop itself does have some screen. So that does kind of suggest that you would still need the laptop screen for it to be usable. And yeah.
But maybe when the laptop has got an option of either using the screen that's already there or another one, it can't run both. Maybe it just has one or the other. Do you know what I mean? So maybe you have to disconnect the laptop screen so that the other one could run. See what I mean? It's either or.
You'd think it'd turn the other screen on, though, wouldn't you? To give the option.
I don't think so. I mean, the problem here is that
there's some kind
because I've taken the battery out, it's lost the time and date, and it's going into the laptop sort of BIOS to say there's a problem, which is before Windows loads or anything clever. So at that level, it's not capable of running an external screen. So now that Windows is booting, my other screen has come to life, but it's Windows that's turned that screen on, and now I have a mirror copy of what's on the laptop screen on my other screen.
So it works then?
Yeah, it will drive the other screen. The problem is that I had to get through the I've lost my time and date bit, which would only work on the laptop's own screen. So without that screen, I wouldn't have gotten through that, and I wouldn't have been able to start it.
Okay.
So
we can't just chop the laptop screen off, then, is what you're trying to say in the short?
Yeah.
No.
Unfortunately not. I mean, obviously, if the battery was in there, it would have retained the date and time. It would have launched. It would have been fine. So it worked most of the time. The problem is the day you take the battery out, and then it loses the date and the time. So yeah, we have them ready to log in, sort of launched.
There's a picture of Ben. Hooray! Looking very scary.
So I mean, that's. I mean, I suppose if you know, you have a laptop and you're not happy with the screen anymore because it's too small or whatever, you know, you can just use an external screen and use that laptop as a sort of, you know, almost like a desktop. I mean, obviously, you can plug in an external keyboard if you want to shut the laptop down and sort of put it in the corner of the desk. Obviously, you can use an external mouse like a lot of people do anyway. I don't use I hate these things. I will use
Me too.
I will use it if I don't have any choice because I'm out and about and I don't have space to put a mouse down. But I always use a mouse on laptops. So most people are doing that anyway. You know, keyboards aren't too expensive. So if you have a sort of an older laptop that you don't like the screen so much on anymore, you can still use it with an external screen and sort of have a perfectly usable machine that's, you know, the same as having a full-blown desktop. But I mean, that's what I do quite a lot. I mean, I used to, well, at one point at work, I was using my own laptop quite a lot for work, and I would have it plugged into the main computer screen and then just change which machine I was looking at with that screen. So I would just spend the day working as I was on a PC. So that's probably about as far as we can go, really.
Thank you, Simon. That was great, I think. What are you going to do with it now? Just to sort of, are you going to put it back together best you can, and then sort of I'll come and get it off you or Vicky Verti?
I can have a look into these cables, see if I can find the right one. I mean, it's up to you. Are you happy with the screen flickering and maybe at some point not working, or do you want to risk damaging all the connectors, trying to take the cable off and replacing it?
I think you probably, I say, by the looks of it, it's almost going to break it to try and get it fixed, if you know what I mean, unless you, oh, crocky, that comes out.
I don't know. I mean, I'm always very wary of these tiny things because, I mean, yes, they are technically connectors, but they are also quite fiddly. But it should, I mean, I can do a little bit. I'm going to say, you know, I've never tried to change these. I could do a bit of research into it and find out how easy it is to do, or yeah, just.
Would not the cable come with a new screen, maybe potentially?
Yes, and in that case, you still do need to replace the just kill it. You still do need to replace the connector on the back of the motherboard. So even if you change the screen, you will still need to get this one out. To get that one out, I'm not sure if it just pulls out. You know, it's a sort of thing that, you know, there's probably a lot of people already done videos on YouTube that will tell you how to do it. So right. Before I try and undo any of them, I would be
right on
to have a little look on YouTube and see if anybody else has sort of got any helpful information to getting those apart without damaging them.
What were you saying, Karen?
I said that's what I would do. I'd look on YouTube and see if other people have taken those off, and if they come with a new screen, because it could be that automatic comes with a new screen. There might be a video about how to fit a new screen on your laptop.
Yes.
And by using that information, potentially could be done quite easily. Yeah,
and of course the other thing is you can change the screen for something slightly different from what you've got, providing the size is the same. I mean, for example, when I damaged the screen on my new laptop, I'd only just got it and I broke the screen on it. I actually replaced it with an IPS screen, which is a screen that you can see at different angles. Because obviously most screens have a fairly narrow angle of view, and after that it becomes the colors go all funny, the contrast isn't good enough and you can't really see. And I actually have this problem on a laptop at work, which is very similar to that laptop that I changed that screen on, and it's a nightmare because the only way to see the screen on that laptop clearly is to have it at sort of 45 degrees. But when I put it like that, all the lights from the ceiling reflect off the screen in my face, and all I can see is the lights on the ceiling, although I can see that the screen is clearer. So I still can't work. And if I tip the screen up so that the lights don't reflect, then I'm at the wrong angle for that display panel, and the contrast disappears and I struggle to see it. An IPS screen has a wider angle. Well, an IPS screen you can practically see from any angle. So it makes it easier to use the laptop because, I mean, they are quite prone to having
We're waiting for you.
Problems with reflected lights as you sort of carry them around and use them in different environments where there's different lighting, and you'll find you'll need different angles of screen to sort of not get interference from the overhead lights or wherever they're placed. So an IPS screen on a laptop is very handy, because it means that it's a lot easier to work with it. So that's what I did on that laptop. And the process of changing the screen, I actually upgraded it as well to a better quality one.
Okay, so I think it's about an hour and a half now. We've been going.
We've not done bad for half our meeting, have we, really?
No.
That was our
We haven't
fault.
completely destroyed it yet.
Oh,
Well,
thanks,
you-
Simon.
We'll leave you to scrape that all into a carrier bag. And
Love it over Jonathan Spence tomorrow morning on my way to work.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, I look forward to that. I am in tomorrow morning, not tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, that was our fault. It's run late.
So,
On there.
say again.
Thank you very much for giving it a go, Simon. And I think we should all give Simon a round of applause for the entertainment. Well done, Simon. And like I say, we've got another one in 2 weeks, and I think Karen's going to be persuaded to show us how to do clocks. Don't look so shocked, Karen.